I've been feeling a little conflicted as to what to post lately, ever since Charlie Kirk's assassination. I was just thinking about what could I post related to health and fitness, but you know what? It just doesn't feel right. And maybe you're feeling the same way too. It's really hard to, just live your life normally when such a evil thing happened. And it just doesn't feel right, and I know you've come here to watch my channel on health and fitness and how to lose weight. And I've also done some videos about, spiritual things. I even did a video that did very well about a month ago talking about how physical training profits little, but it's the spiritual aspect of your life has eternal value. And that really hit home for a lot of people. And, it hasn't even been a week yet since Charlie's assassination. And just the amount of evil. I always knew there was evil in the world, but the people that are celebrating this, it is just unbelievable, how people are glorifying this and making fun of it. And it's just such pure evil. And, on the one hand, I try to talk about fitness on this channel, but on the other, it's really hard to move forward when people are just celebrating something that was just so tragic and pure evil. And, it kind of reminds me of a verse in the Bible that basically says, in the end days, good will be called evil and evil will be called good. And we're witnessing that right now. And, I've even talked about how Ephesians 6:12, basically says we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of the darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places. I really like that verse because it really paints a picture as to what we're really dealing with. I've been feeling like this for a long time, just seeing the craziness that's been going on in the world. Everything is just upside down. And I've always known that it was like this spiritual battle, but it's even more evident today, just seeing this stuff. And, we always assume that we're dealing with an actual person when really they are under the influence of the enemy. They are under the influence of Satan. And you gotta understand, the devil is not omnipresent. He's not like God where he can be everywhere at the same time. However, Satan has demons, okay? He has demons that will influence you, speaking in your ear to do certain things. A lot of this stuff that you see with a lot of these shooters, they are pretty sick people. Mentally, and we could talk about, mental illness and all this stuff, but I'm telling you, it is a spiritual battle that we are dealing with. Like I said, good is being called evil, evil's being called good, everything is upside down. And my hope is that there is going to be more of an awakening. I think people are starting to awaken. I've even seen people on the left who are like, you know what? I don't want no part of this party. No part of it. And I'm just going to be transparent. I really believe that the left, more specifically Democrats, seem to be for everything that God hates. God hates violence. He hates abortion. He hates the whole transgender thing. God created male and female. That is what he created. There is only two genders. So, I'm just being real with you. That party, the Democratic Party, they are for everything that God hates. So you're going to have to choose. I'm not saying to choose a political party. Choose to serve God. I know for me and my house, we are going to serve the Lord because at the end of the day, Jesus is coming back. Whether you believe that or not, he is coming back. And I would rather be on the side and be ready for when he does return. And I grew up in a Christian home all my life. Look, I was not a perfect person throughout my life. I was raised in a Christian home. And as I got older, somewhere around the age of 18, 19, I kind of lost my way. I was very backslidden. I went out and partied, did all kinds of drugs. I was involved in things that as a Christian, I had no business being involved in until I had a situation where my brother died. You know, we were very close. We were 13 months apart. He died of a drug overdose, and that really totally shook my world. And I went back looking for answers. I could not understand, why do these things happen to Christians, to families? Well, look at Charlie Kirk. He was a Christian. He was very courageous about his faith. In fact, I saw a video where he wants to be remembered as having courage for his faith. And that is just an awesome way to have people remember you. And just like I said, you know, even with myself, it's like, you know, I was totally shook up, and, you know, I rediscovered my faith in God. And, you know, this was over 24 years ago, my brother died. You know, this was back in 2001 when 9/11 happened, you know. So that was a very, very tragic and horrific time in my life. And things have only gotten worse as time has gone on. You know, there's so many scriptures that back this up. You know, there's wars, rumors of wars, there'll be earthquakes, pestilence. You know, we dealt with the whole pandemic that we had, you know, back in 2020. And now we're seeing people praise other people for violence, for killing people. It's just, as Christians, we really shouldn't be surprised. Okay, this is nothing new. There have been martyrs that have happened all through history. This is nothing new. We're just seeing more and more of it. We're really starting to see people's true colors and how they really feel about certain situations. So yeah, you know, like I said, I've been very conflicted as to what type of a video I want to start doing. You know, I still do my health and fitness. I'm still in the gym every day. I'm still doing my diets, my fasting, my keto, all that kind of stuff. However, sometimes it's just hard to just move forward and just live a normal life after these tragic things have happened. And you know what? It's only going to get worse and worse. You know, they compare the end times to a woman who is going into labor, and how those contractions get closer and closer and closer. And we're seeing that. We're seeing these contractions in the earth getting closer and closer for the return of Jesus. And I would encourage you, if you're not a Christian, you don't know anything about Jesus, and you're starting to question things as to, like, you're seeing what's going on in the world and you know there's something quite not right, I would challenge you to seek him. Seek him in his word. That is the only way you will get to know Jesus, is you have to be in the Bible. Read his word. Anytime you read the Bible, Jesus always responded with the word. He didn't respond with his opinions and what he thought. He responded with the word. I mean, I've also been watching more videos, and as you know, I mean, Hollywood, totally corrupt. You hear about things like the Illuminati. You hear about people selling their soul for fame and fortune. In fact, just the other day, I watched a video from a well-known rapper back in like the 90s, early 2000s. And there's an interview where he literally says he was being used by Satan to hypnotize people. If you don't think music has an influence on people, look, you got to remember, Satan, before he fell, he was kind of in charge of like the music, okay? He has a very big influence on music. And you see how a lot of these younger kids live, listening to the types of music that they're listening to, and how they're being influenced to do things that are just totally goes against everything God is for. And we're seeing this getting closer and closer and closer. So I feel like, because I have this platform, I feel it's my duty to at least let you know that there is hope, that God does win in the end, that this is not going to last forever. Now, will times get worse? Probably so. It's going to get worse and worse and worse. But we do have hope. This is why Jesus came, lived on this earth for 33 years. He died, was buried, and he rose again on that third day. This is the hope that we have. And all you have to do is confess with your mouth and believe in your heart that Jesus is Lord, and you will be saved. There's nothing you can do to earn it. All right? The Bible is very clear. For by grace are ye saved through faith, and that is not of yourselves. It is the gift of God, not by works, lest any man should boast. Because there's nothing you can do to earn it. It's a free gift, and God is not delaying his coming. A lot of people have talked about, they've been talking about this for, decades and hundreds of years, that Jesus is going to come back. You know why it's taken some time for Jesus to come back? Because he's giving an opportunity for you to come to him. He doesn't want anyone to perish. But when you die, you're going to go to either one place or the other. It's either heaven or hell. There's no in between. And you know what? God does not send anyone to hell. The only person that sends yourself to hell is you. If you totally reject God, there's no other place you're going to go. And as you see the way the world's becoming today, I wouldn't wait, because as Christians, we need to be ready. All right. And if you're not even a Christian, you're not a follower, then, hey, your life is not promised. As we just saw with this whole Charlie Kirk assassination, he was going there to do his normal life, his normal thing that he puts on at these different college campuses, and he never knew that that was going to be his last. You don't know when it's going to be your last. In fact, I was just taking a walk this morning, something else. I was taking my walk, as you saw at the beginning of this video, and I see this woman sitting in a motorized, like wheelchair type of thing with a dog. And I've been seeing her quite often, but there was somebody else that used to sit in that exact motorized wheelchair with that exact same dog. And I started thinking, what happened to that guy? So as I'm taking my walks every day, I see her, but I don't see him. And I really felt like this feeling I bet you something happened to this guy. I bet you he passed away or whatever. Well, sure enough, I'm taking my walk. I see her in that same motorized wheelchair with the dog, and I see her talking to another man. And as I'm walking past him and her, I hear her explaining that he actually did in fact pass away. He had a bunch of blood clots. It was so bad, there was nothing that they could do. And the guy was telling her I want to give you my condolences. I'm so sorry to hear about that. And I thought, here's a guy I used to see every day with his dog in that motorized wheelchair. And I'd walk by him and I would say hi and this and that, but I never really had a conversation with him. But again, it just kind of reinforced to me that one day I saw this guy, the next day I didn't. And now this woman is sitting in his chair with the same dog. It was probably his wife. And I wanted to speak to her, but she was talking to the other guy. But anyway, the point I'm making is that you don't know when it's your last. You just don't know. There are freak accidents that happen. There are things I've seen where it was just such a horrible tragedy that should not have happened. It was some freak accident thing. You just never know. Car accidents, just all kinds of stuff. Health conditions, genetic things that maybe you have in your family you're not aware of, and boom, you just drop dead. It could happen. So, and I don't say all this to scare you. I say it because we don't know when it's our last. Why take that chance of not knowing where you're going to go when you die? Because here's the thing. We are all spiritual beings having an experience in this physical realm, in this body that we have. But eventually this body gets old. It's going to perish. I work out and I do all kinds of, eating healthy, and I'm going to be 50 next year. I don't even feel like I'm going to be 50. I want to live as long as possible, all right, as long as I possibly can. However, we all have a date. We all have an expiration date. So you got to decide, where do you want to be? I can't imagine anyone, people think that's going to be some big party in hell. No, it's not. You don't want to go there. So I would encourage you, get to know him, get to know God, get to know Jesus. And I'm telling you, he will set you free. There's so much anxiety in this world. There's so much uncertainty. There is so much fear, and you don't have to live in fear. You can live in peace knowing that God's got your back. But you got to live for him. You can't just say you're a Christian and be done with it. You're going to have to produce some fruit, all right? So I hope this video helps at least one of you at least start to think hey, look, I don't have to prove it to you that the world's gone nuts. You see it happening. So now you just got to decide which direction do you want to go. And I would encourage you to look into following Jesus. All right. So I hope this video helped you. And if it did, make sure to like the video, make sure to subscribe to the channel, and always hit that notification bell so you don't miss any future episodes. I'm going to get back into doing the fitness stuff. I just kind of felt it's just not quite right at this time. All right. Talk soon.